I found out my wife was cheating, so I sold my company shares for $10 to my brother and moved the rest into his startup. When I gave her the divorce papers, she yelled, "I deserve half." Then she saw the joint account balance. Her lawyer was panicking. Update 1. Alright, Reddit wasn't supposed to be home that day. Conference got cancelled, so I came back early to surprise my wife. Walked in on her making out with some dude who looked fresh out of college. He panicked. Her reaction, "Don't be sensitive. It's no big deal." I said sure it's not, and walked out. She thought that was it. It wasn't. Her lawyer was sweating 2 weeks later. Here's how I played it. I 36. Male, run a logistics consulting business in Arlington, Virginia. Been married to Vicky, 35, female, for 8 years. Vicky hosts a podcast called Modern Women Talk that has a modest following, maybe 5,000 listeners on a good day. She started it with 2 friends from college after getting laid off from her marketing job. They recorded weekly in our spare room, which I'd helped convert with some basic sound treatment. Nothing fancy, just enough to make it sound decent. I actually spent around $2,500 setting up that room for her. Acoustic panels, a decent mixer, 3 microphones with shock mounts, sound dampening curtains, and some decent lighting. When I walked in, the house had this weird silence. Not peaceful, just wrong. I dropped my laptop bag by the stairs and headed toward the kitchen, expecting to hear her recording. Instead I heard moaning. Not trying to be quiet moaning. Full volume. Don't give a damn moaning. I followed the sound down the hall to the spare room. The door was cracked open. That's when I saw Vicky with her back against the wall wrapped around some guy. He looked like the sound tech she'd mentioned hiring a few weeks back. Probably around 25. Still had his stupid beanie on. It wasn't even the good equipment wall with the foam panels I'd installed. It was the bare drywall I hadn't gotten around to treating yet. That detail stuck with me for some reason. Like they couldn't even be bothered to use the nice part of the room I'd set up. The guy saw me first. His face went white and he scrambled to pull up his pants. "What the fuck?" I said, standing in the doorway. Vicky's head whipped around. Instead of looking ashamed, she looked annoyed. She adjusted her clothes like she was just finishing a workout. "Jesus, Tom. I thought you were in Dallas until Sunday." "Yeah, clearly," I said, my voice ice cold. "That's why you brought him to our house." The tech guy tried to squeeze past me, mumbling something that sounded like "sorry man," without making eye contact. "You might want to zip up your pants all the way, buddy," I said as he bolted down the hallway. Vicky crossed her arms. "Great. Now I need to find a new sound editor." That's when I lost it. 8 years of marriage. And that was her response. "Are you kidding me right now?" I shouted, slamming my hand against the doorframe so hard it stung. "I catch you screwing some hipster in our house, and you're worried about your goddamn podcast." Vicky actually took a step back, surprised by my outburst. "I never yelled ever." "Lower your voice," she said, suddenly defensive. "The neighbors will hear." "Oh, now you're worried about noise. Because you two weren't exactly keeping it down a minute ago. It just happened." "Okay, it's not a big deal. We've been having problems for months." "Don't act surprised." Problems meant she'd been distant and irritable. I'd been working longer hours to land new clients. Typical marriage rough patch, not screwing the sound guy rough patch. I took a deep breath, my momentary rage subsiding into something colder. "You know what? You're right. This isn't a big deal." I turned and walked out, grabbed my bag, got in my car, and drove to my brother Brody's place across town. Brody handed me a spare key without asking questions. That night, sitting on his balcony, I told him what happened. "Jesus," he said, shaking his head. "And she wasn't even sorry." "Acted like I was interrupting a business meeting," I said, "like I should apologize for catching her." Brody snorted. "Classic Vicky. Remember when she showed up 3 hours late to my wedding rehearsal because she was networking, then got mad when mom said something? I hadn't thought about that in years, or the time she forgot my company launch party, or how she'd stopped asking about my day around year 3 of our marriage. She also did that thing at Dad's funeral," Brody added when she was on her phone during the service, then claimed it was an urgent client issue that couldn't wait. Then I saw her posting on Instagram later that day. That's when clarity hit me. This wasn't about love or even betrayal. It was about respect. Vicky hadn't just cheated. She dismissed me entirely, and I wasn't about to play the devastated husband. I was going to make sure she regretted underestimating me. Next morning I sat across from Miss Parker in her office on the 12th floor of an office building in Alexandria. Rain tapped against the windows as I laid out my plan. No small talk. "I want to transfer my 70% of the consulting firm to Brody," I said, sliding a folder across her desk. She raised an eyebrow. "For how much?" $10. She leaned back. "Tom, you know what I'm going to say." "I do, tell me anyway." She opened the folder, glanced at the draft. "If you transfer this now, right before filing for divorce, it's going to get challenged as a fraudulent conveyance. No judge will ignore the timing." "I'm counting on the challenge," I replied. That got her attention. "Explain." "Vicky won't go after money straight. She'll posture negotiate. But if she thinks this firm is part of the prize, she'll dig in and demand half. This way, I force her to fight over something she has no legal claim to." I inherited this business from my dad before I ever met her. She'll claim transmutation. Parker said, tapping her pen. Say the value was coming wet, that your work during marriage grew the equity. Let her. That's a long paper trail to argue against. All she'll prove is that I made something valuable. Not that she built it with me. She couldn't even tell you what my company actually does beyond something with trucks. Parker studied me for a moment, eyes narrowing slightly. She had a reputation. Analytical. Precise. The lawyer executives called when things got messy. You're not playing defense, she said finally. I'm going to war. She sighed, then turned to her computer and began typing. Fine. We'll timestamp the agreement today, but delay execution until 36 hours before filing. That gives us a small cushion of deniability. Does Brody know he's about to become the target of a legal battle? I smiled faintly. He suggested it. What I didn't tell Parker was that Brody and I had already spent 3 hours the night before mapping out every financial move I needed to make. My brother majored in economics before starting his software company. He understood the chess game better than I did. Now you can watch the second part by pressing share and more.